Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Smack the Markets Midweek Live Update. So as usual, before we get started, if I can ask you just take a few moments to read through this and make sure that you're comfortable with the risk disclaimer. Same as usual, we're not licensed to be able to give advice. The markets that we discuss are purely our opinions and should be taken in the context of education. Okay, so no advice is intended or given during these sessions, so make sure that you're comfortable with that. Hi Fergal. Hi Michael. Morning Martin. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on in the markets. So we had quite an interesting start to the week this week, haven't we? If we take a look at the markets that we discussed on Monday in the newsletter, first of all, we were looking at gold and silver. There was an element of resistance on this market that the market was just coming up against. And then we had the huge sort of move that has taken place here, huge volatility. If we have a look at this on the, we just sort of come down the top. I mean, this is on the daily time frame, so it gives you some sort of perspective of what's happened with the silver market rallying up to the $30 level here, which is in recent times, it's sort of going back to last year. It's the high of recent times. But if we come back just a little bit further than that, you get some sort of perspective as to where silver is in the whole scheme of things. So let's just come back to the sort of 4-hour time frame here. So the market broke out. We had a huge move here. Obviously, this was widely sort of discussed that this was some sort of potentially the army of retail traders from Reddit that helped to fuel this, and there's some sort of speculation as to how correct that actually was. But this market is quite different to a fairly small stock. It's quite a big market by comparison, and again, you can see that price has now sort of retraced quite significantly back into this. There's various stories about this, which I'm not really sort of going to get into today, but this may have just been a play that was on the that was driven by the funds to actually balance out the books effectively. So we've had this huge move here in silver. Where now for silver? And I think that's the sort of the challenging thing. I think once the market sort of rolled over from the from this sort of breakout area, the prospect of it closing this gap was sort of pretty high. Let's close that gap now, and now we're sort of really sort of bringing this sort of back into sort of fair value zone. So I think this market really needs to sort of leave this one and sort of see how this sort of settles down and start to get some sort of more normal market structure behind it first. Longer term, that I'm bullish on gold and silver. But actually waiting for a good entry point in here is a better option at the moment, I think. So let's come back to some of the other markets that we mentioned on Monday, just to sort of update these. So dollar Swiss that had been on our watch list here for a couple of weeks. In fact, we were looking at this for a breakout long, which has happened. We're looking for this trading window to get closed up here towards the 90 level. That's more or less happened. It's virtually there now. There's not much distance for it to go. So this was the breakout, and we were expecting sort of dollar strength to continue, which has now sort of happened. If we come down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see the sort of breakout and the huge sort of moves that we've had here. We were expecting and looking for some kind of sort of pullback as the breakout happened here with quite a lot of force, and the market just didn't look back as the dollar continued to strengthen. So where now for dollar Swiss? Well, again, I think we've got a key decision point here around that sort of 90 level. If price can get through here, and again, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see some sort of pause around this level, because we've got dollar Swiss coming up to significant resistance in a market that's well stretched and well extended. It's due a bit of a pullback. We've also got dollar yen, which is also coming up to that, or it's not coming up to it, it's around that 105 level at the moment. So we've got dollar yen also in a similar sort of situation, up against quite a significant sort of price point. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see some sort of pause, some sort of retest of these decision points before looking for continuation. The dollar looks at this moment, it looks sort of poised for continued strength, and if that sort of continues up to that sort of 92 area, then we could start to see continued strength, and we'd expect continued strength in dollar related markets like the Swissy here. So next sort of areas really sort of sit us into these sort of points around here, which sort of gives us around that sort of 9,500 sort of price point, I think. So it's some significant support and resistance around these levels. Morning, Andrew. So let's come back out of this, and let's just go down the time frames first and see if we've got anything. You can see the price action here. So we really want to be looking at buying opportunities in these sort of areas. And if we get a sort of a pullback and a consolidation around this sort of area, that would be the sort of thing that would start to look nice for sort of positioning. At the moment here, you can see that we've got higher highs. We've got weaker momentum coming into the markets with the momentum indicators here. So you're just really sort of highlighting, that the market's running out of momentum as it's sort of coming up to significant levels. So sort of just tying in with our sort of theory there. So let's take a look. Let's come back to our currencies here. Let's have a look at that dollar yen here, and again, if we have a look at these sort of 105 areas where the market's just around at the moment, you can see that we've got sort of significant support and resistance there on that sort of daily time frame. Let me just mark that in. And again, this market has had a very good run, and it's also been extremely strong, obviously sort of benefiting from that strength in the dollar and the weakness in the yen that we've been seeing as well. So again, its trading window's closed. It's had a very good run. It's I expect, if these strengths and weaknesses are going to continue, then there is only one way for this market to go, and in fact, all these dollar markets to go. But trading into significant support and resistance is a high risk strategy. So we've got areas up here to around sort of 105.5, which are fairly sort of clean windows. So again, once we get sort of through these areas, then I think there could be some further upside on these markets to come. So if we come back to the other dollar-related markets, if we have a look at this dollar first of all, so this is the dollar index. You can see that we've got the roll around here on the market. It's also, as I mentioned, really at the beginning of the year, whilst price now has come down to this significant level and it broke above it, we were looking at support on top of this 90 level. So the first sort of target area that we were looking at was 91. Market's now sort of achieved 91. It's now sort of broken through that. And it looks, as again, as you can see from where price is at the moment, we've got a fairly sort of clear space now and defined movement here towards this 92 price point. So the path technically for the dollar, the path of least resistance is much clearer now back to retest that 91 level. Probably easier than what the market was around here, getting from 90 to 91, where it's establishing the long trend here. So again, that could make these sort of moves in the dollar and dollar-related markets that little bit more easier. So with that in mind, of course, we've been trying to get some opportunities here on euro dollar. As I mentioned a few times now, for looking at euro dollar down to that 120 level. We just mark in 120, which is almost there now. In fact, we're virtually, did we test it just now? So the low, so about sort of 10 points off it. So this morning, the market's now sort of come down. It's sort of almost tested that sort of 120 level here. And I think that's been the big level for this market to retrace back to. And I've sort of said that many times now. So now we're here. We're now on the euro. Well, as I say, the euro, if we just look at things from a fundamental perspective, there's a lot of things that are not looking particularly comfortable over there at the moment, and starting to impact on the economy. Italy's got one of the worst recessions, I think, since the Second World War. I think they said, looking at drafting in Mario Draghi to manage the country for a while and help them out. So there's a lot of things sort of dragging them down. We won't even mention the sort of the recent sort of trade fiasco over the vaccine as well, which again is not helping the vaccine sort of development, vaccine program, I should say, which has sort of come under sort of questions as well. So there's a few things there going on which certainly isn't helping from a fundamental perspective. And I think that if we see that continued strength in the dollar, we could see the euro here continue its decline. And again, if we start to look at next sort of structure levels, we're sort of back down here to that sort of 119, or just above that 119 area, where we've got the next sort of significant support and resistance. So we've got a new trading window. Again, as always with these markets, once they hit significant levels, we might expect some sort of pause here. You can see this sort of developing on the 4-hour time frame. Let me sort of zoom that up slightly so you can see this sort of starting to happen here already. So some sort of pause around here, maybe break through, break through the level, pull back to it. That sort of thing is the sort of price action that we'd expect for a sort of a retest and a continuation of this a break through this level. Let's have a look at this on the lower time frames. Yeah, so you can almost sort of see this now as we're starting to get some sort of divergence coming in here again. So bit of support coming in around that sort of 120 price point. So we can expect a bit of perhaps a bit of a pausing and sideways action here across the board, I think, in a lot of these euro markets. Yeah, so we take a look at the Kiwi yen, because I think the yens are some of the best markets out there at the moment. So we'll have a look at that, Fergal. So if we come over to let's have a look at Kiwi yen. So what we've seen lately, and more recently over recent days, is significant weakness in the yen, and that's allowed a lot of these other markets that are inherently strong, like the Kiwi, to really benefit from that. So Kiwi yen here, sort of moving very nicely. We've got long trends right across the time frames on this, from the weekly, the daily, as we can see here. The 4 hour looking sort of quite nice. We had this nice sort of area here where price sort of broke out, and now we're getting the retracement starting to come in. So if we come through this, I think actually Fergal mentioned this one on the morning prep post. So if we have a look at this on the 60-minute chart, and what we can start to do is start to see where the sort of structure points are. So we had a level here, probably around this sort of zone here where we've got these previous highs. That coincides with a 50% retracement level at the moment. And I'm just checking for pivot points. So we've actually got a pivot point right the way in between the 50 and the 61.8 level. So with pivot points through here, in fact, it's just underneath that 50 level actually at the moment, probably about actually where my yellow dotted line there is. So we've got pivot points clustering with the moving average zone, clustering with that previous resistance. So we've got quite a bit going on there, and that would sort of bring the market back into a sort of fair value zone. So I'm liking the look of this one, and we're getting that retracement back into that area as well. So I think Fergal's actually keeping an eye on this one as well, and if we see some sort of setup there, we'll post that in the trading room. Now, similar to that is the Swissy as well. So if we come over to and again, if we have a look at the Kiwi Swiss, which is essentially extremely similar, the Swissy is even weaker at the moment as a market. And again, we can see this is the just come to the higher time frame. So there you got sort of nice daily 4 hour. And again, after such a strong move, we're expecting a pullback on this, and a pullback sort of taking place at the moment. Now, we've still got strengths and weaknesses supporting these strong, and that's to the long side at the moment. So Again, this would be quite nice if we get a retracement in here and these strengths and weaknesses are staying in alignment. So if we start to mark in a bit of structure through here, the sort of interesting area for me is this zone here around the 50 and 61.8% fib level. So that's this sort of zone here between these two price points. We've got pivot points in here as well. So we've got double pivot points in here too. So we've got quite a bit going on here. So again, some sort of retracement back in here. It's quite a long way, but then again, the market is sort of moving quite swiftly towards that. So this could be quite a nice area to look for longs as well. So just one thing, Fergal, maybe I've got my news feed turned off at the moment because I don't want interruptions. But is there anything, let us know if there is anything coming through the news wires that is creating the retracement on the Kiwi at the moment. It's not usual that we hear Kiwi news at this time of day. But just let us know if we do hear anything. Okay, so other markets. So maybe let me ask if you're on the live stream at the moment live, what markets are you keeping an eye on? I'm just going to go through a couple here of mine. Now, I mentioned this again a few times about sterling markets. Now, sterling's actually sort of showing up fairly weak now, and it's sort of getting weaker as the morning is progressing. But again, I'm still liking these markets long. I'm still liking it the pound strong. And again, you can see this not always the easiest of markets to trade, sterling. But against the yen, I mean, now we're showing up against weak markets here. We could see some sort of retracement here. You can see 142, 280 is quite a nice sort of level here on the daily time frame for some sort of retracement on this. I'm not even sure we're going to get that far back, but again, you can start to see some sort of market structure in here. Let's just sort of come down the time frames. What I was looking at here, and the reason why this is on my sort of watch list has been because it's just been in this come back to the 4-hour time frame. We just had this sort of pullback in this sideways sort of consolidation, and I've been looking for some sort of support in here, see if we get some sort of breakout to the long side. There's price actions just not lending itself towards a sort of a decent sort of position at the moment, or a proposition to trade. But if this holds, then we got a nice sort of areas in here for sort of technical stops. Okay, thanks, Fergal. So there's not a great deal on the news wires at the moment around the giving any reason for the Kiwi retracement, so it could just be a technical retracement at the moment. But a lot of those markets have had a good move yesterday, and they're retracing. So I've got pound, yen, and I've also got the pound Swissy. Now, obviously, the yen and the Swissy, they're both weak today, and they've both been weak for the past few days. So we've got half the equation in place supporting these. So it's just the strength in the pound. If we get that strength in the pound coming through, that will help these to move long, help these to strengthen. The trends are still long on these, as we can see. Pound against the Swissy, just much nicer sort of trend structure here on the 4-hour time frame. Again, some sort of if we come down to the lower time frames, we start to see sort of sideways consolidations like this, then it starts to give you sort of good places for stop locations. Yeah, so pound CAD. Okay, so I'm actually let's have a look at pound Aussie as well. Now I know pound Aussie and pound CAD, they're both sort of the CAD and the Aussie are strong. Let's come back to that. Again, these ones have been sort of moving quite nicely. I just don't see a setup on these sort of anytime soon, really. Let's have a look at the so coming back into some interesting places on the daily time frame now, right below that 175 level. So again, I think this could be a nice one for a swing play if we start to get this sort of turning around. Or indeed, if we get a break underneath here, then we've got a potential for further distance to the short side. Let's see what we've got on the 60-minute chart. So we've got some interesting sort of price action starting to form around here. But again, my preference really with this one would be for to see if the market sort of finds support here. I'm just noticing we've got 3-star Great British Pound news out very soon in the next couple of minutes as well. So the other one that, if we go back to the conventional strengths and weaknesses, and let's have a look at just trying to find some of my other sort of markets here. CAD yen. CAD yen we've got on the watch list this morning, haven't we? Strengths and weaknesses supporting this one as well at the moment. So again, let's have a highlight the opportunity that we're looking for. So this is not only a weekly, a daily, and a 4-hour breakout. So we've got a very significant sort of level around this sort of 82 price point. Again, if I just even go up to the weekly chart, you can see the significance of this sort of level on the market. So above that, just getting through that at the moment. So the sort of thing we want to try and see if we can get some sort of opportunity above here. At the moment, the market's sort of just punching through. So again, we want to be above this area. But I think this is starting to look sort of quite nice. Again, particularly at the moment, we've got strength in the CAD and we've got the weakness in the yen. So again, number of things supporting this at the moment. But what we need to wait for is a good place to establish a stop level. Here's my Euro Kiwi. So again, if we have a look at Euro Kiwi, yeah, so absolutely, Andy. I mean, Euro Kiwi's on my watch list as well. We've got, again, this is got strengths and weaknesses supporting this at the moment. We've got weakness across the board on the Euro. We've got strength across the board on the Kiwi. So again, this is a nice one here, pushing Euro Kiwi short. But at the moment, we've had a good long run and we're looking for a bit of a retracement on this. So again, if we start to come down the time frames, all across the board, looking rather nice. You can see this on the 4-hour time frame. We've starting to get that retracement now. And even some sort of retracement back into, you know, these sort of areas could start to look rather nice. Could get this back into a bit of fair value zone, and also a potential turning point from the high, low, lower high, lower low. You know, we need to establish another lower high at some point in time between these 2 points. So if we come down to the 1-hour chart here, so if we take a look at this on the 1 hour, I've marked my level in here around this sort of price point here. And then if we start to run a fib study in here, you can see we've got a nice 50% retracement level tying up quite nicely within this level here at the moment. We're getting that retracement too currently. So between the previous high and the current low, that could be a nice area for a lower high to form. And that could be a nice area to start to look for opportunities to get short if we get that. Now, what you can't see on this platform, we've got Smack the Markets pivots, a cluster of pivot points around this area as well. So that might be sort of quite nice, you know, and adding quite a lot of technical analysis, quite a lot of potential resistance around here, resisting the market sort of moving any higher. So a nice place for the stop placement, of course, at the moment above the 100%. So that was one of the best ones that I'd actually picked up this morning, I think. So I'm just going through my sort of watch list at the moment. So liking the CAD yen, liking the euro, euro kiwi yen. So some of the others that we've got, of course, at the moment, things like CAD Swiss, they've all got strengths and weaknesses supporting them at the moment as well. Again, with CAD Swiss, let me just CAD Swiss and CAD yen, we're looking for a retracement back on those. The only thing I'm not blown away with on that CAD Swiss is the current price action. If we just have a look at that. If you come down to the 15-minute chart, you can see we've got sort of like a double high here. We've got sort of like a double top here, and now the market sort of pulled back. So I don't fancy this now on the 15-minute chart. I prefer to see this now on the on something like a higher time frame, possibly at least maybe an hour chart. But I think the reality is that this market's got a big level that I think it really ought to retest, which is that 7,000 level. If we come back to the sort of 4-hour time frame, you can see that we're quite stretched here, even if sort of getting positioned here on a lower time frame on a 60-minute chart, we're still looking quite stretched here on these higher time frames. So I'd much prefer some sort of retracement back into support, back into value areas before looking for or the expectation of a continued move to the long side. So again, there's a few markets out there at the moment starting to look sort of quite nice. So yeah, so Aussie Kiwi is actually retracing at the moment, isn't it, Andy? It's bouncing off that 105.50 level at the moment as well. The here on that daily, you can see we've got getting a bit of a retracement on this at the moment. Overall, I think on these sort of lower time frames, maybe if we come to the hour, you sort of see a bit of perspective here, maybe the 15 even. You see we've got quite a bit of support in here. I'm not loving this price action, to be honest. I think this is looking maybe it's not too bad on the 60-minute chart. I just think we're going to get a higher time frame pullback on this one. I think it's going to get come back into some much sort of deeper areas than we can expect to see fair value on these lower time frames. Okay, let me just scan through what we've got going on at the moment. Through my sort of watch list. So, yep, so I think those Kiwis retracing. Nasdaq's coming back as well. I'm surprised no one's asked me what's happening with these Wall Street bet trades. They've been messing the markets up completely this week, haven't they? Amazing what they're doing. Amazing trading decision. Yeah, of course, you know, silver was probably the an interesting play that picked up some of the so arguably some of the momentum off that, or ramifications from that, whether it was intended or unintended by the original group, I'm not sure. But I think those markets are going to be forced to settle down now. There are also a number of brokers which have stepped up the margin requirements to trade silver, unfortunately, as well. It just means you need a little bit more in the trading account in order to be able to trade those instruments. Okay, so let's start to wrap up now. Again, let's got quite a few markets there to keep an eye on. We've gone through the sort of pick of the watch list this morning. Let's see how things develop, and we'll give you an update in the trading room. Okay, so if you enjoyed the session, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a member of the trading room or a member of our newsletter and you want to get notified of these sessions, then you can, a couple of ways you can do it. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notifications tab, and that will notify you each time that we run one of these live sessions. Or you can come across to the Smack the Markets website, sign up for our newsletter, and we'll send you a link to these sessions every time we run them. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's have a good morning, and I'll speak to you in the trading room. Okay. Cheers for now.